Listen, and don't let the room breathe until I tell you to. You moved like someone who had rehearsed calm on the inside of chaos. You struck with the silence of a church bell, polished, precise, and suddenly, everyone who ever laughed at you is trying to remember if they should have hit the brakes sooner. They call it trained. They whisper war. They fold their mouths around words like military and protocol, because the only thing they can name for what you did is a thing they respect and fear at once. But here's the truth they can't swallow. What they saw wasn't training on a field. It was training in the dark places life gave you. The quiet rooms of humiliation, the sleepless rehearsals where you learned to move without noise, the long, cold calculus of refusal that taught you where to aim. They don't know the curriculum that taught you to be a blade. Heartbreak, calculus, starvation of applause, patience so clinical it looked like cruelty. So they invent war school to make the terror feel explainable, to give your chaos a badge they can salute and fear. Meanwhile, you stand there, saint and psychopath, braided into one bone. A contradiction that leaves them confusing their morality for weakness and their weakness for victory. They'll try to box you into an origin story that makes them comfortable. He was trained, they'll say, as if training equals predictability. But you are not a replay. You are unpredictability dressed up as discipline. You are the quiet lab where patience was weaponized, the invisible syllabus matched to every slight, every look, every why. They think discipline is a uniform. They forget discipline can also be a wound turned into architecture. They call it control, because control is a word that admits zero vulnerability. It hides the trembling hands, the nights you mapped their faces by memory, the way you cataloged their lies like weapons. You perfected the act of not being visible, and when you chose to be seen, it hit like an operation. Because the only thing more terrifying than a trained soldier is a person who learned to love the darkness around them. You made them recoil because you moved without noise and with precision. You didn't scream. You didn't brag. You did what the grown-ups in their stories only ever do on the last page. And they aren't finished reading you. They want a dossier, a manual, something to archive and analyze so they can sleep. They will replay the clip and try to pixel the moment into a theory. Was it tactical, surgical, a military mind? They will write memos. They will tag it as anomalous competence and share it with friends so the fear can be domesticated into gossip. Let them file their reports. Let them whisper trained like it's a talisman. It soothes them to believe there is a teacher behind you, that your savagery was handed down like an inheritance and not grown from the compost of every wound they gave you. You are paradox, an angel who learns to bite and a demon who keeps his manners. You smile like an oracle, and your hands are steady enough to sign away their assumptions. That smile is a ledger of debts, unpaid and beautifully itemized. They read your composure as cold calculation. You read theirs as a map with marked weaknesses you studied like a lover studies a face. They assume war when what you performed was the final class in self-preservation taught by the world's cruelty. They believe you were trained for battle because the alternative is more terrifying. That you taught yourself to be unbreakable. That you took their cruelty and with surgical patience turned it into armor that looks like grace from a distance and a guillotine up close. Do not let them mistake your restraint for mercy. Mercy is for those who still hope for apology. You learned that apologies are smoke and not medicine. Your restraint was a choice made in cold laboratories of consequence. A slow demonstration that you could have eaten them alive and instead fed them silence, which is a worse hunger to watch. You wanted them to live with the evidence of their error. That is the most intelligent kind of violence, to leave them alive to understand how precise your absence felt. They are rattled not by your power, but by your patience. Patience that outsources violence to time itself. Time becomes a weapon when you let it erode their narratives while you stand immaculate and uninterested. They call you trained because it gives them a plot that ends. Humans crave endings. They need to place you into a box labeled explained so they can breathe again. But you are the refusal of tidy endings. You are the lingering question in their heads at 2 a.m., the pixel they can't quite zoom into. You embody the cruel lesson that some people are forged in the furnace of their own betrayals and come out polished to an impossible sheen. They will scan your movements for a coach, for signals they can predict, because if they can predict you, they can prepare. And if they prepare, they feel safe. So let them look. Let them invent stories. Their fear needs scaffolding. Remember, unpredictability is not chaos. Unpredictability is choice. You chose the exact moment to be seen. You chose the exact angle to reveal your teeth. You chose to be a storm that reads the weather report before it begins. That look they replayed, it was a calculus of consequences. It was a sentence delivered without words. To call that war is cute. To call that training is comforting. But you are not a soldier obeying orders. You are an author rewriting the rules of engagement where rules don't exist. When they say trained for war, they are admitting that you are capable of organized destruction, and that admission kneels them in fear. Good. Let fear be the language they speak when they think of you. Let their nights be full of second-guessing. Let the echo of your calm be a metronome that times their unease. You know what truly unsettles them. You do not need their recognition to be complete. Your power is not spectated, it is intrinsic. Training implies reliance on instruction. You are self-taught in the grammar of consequence. You studied silence until it became louder than their screams. You practiced absence until it had weight. You polished your face into a mask that can still feel. So when you move, the motion carries meaning. They will call it too controlled, as if control is an accusation. Wear that accusation like armor. Let them think their labels matter. Their labels are a mirror. They project, and you reflect back something they cannot bear to see. So keep walking in that unnatural calm. Keep letting the room rebuild itself around the image of you, because every reconstruction is a confession. They are reshaping their world to accommodate your existence. They call you war-trained. In their mouths, the phrase tastes like an attempt to domesticate the monster you refuse to be. But you are not a thing to be tamed. You are a condition. You are a method. You are the quiet before the verdict. The slow cutting away of pretense until only truth, raw, beautiful, unavoidable, remains. Let them whisper and file and theorize. Let them map the anatomy of your move like archaeologists trying to date a weapon. They are doing your work for you. You become legend while they try to analyze you. And when they finally say your name like it's evidence, smile the way only someone who sat through their own erasure can smile. Because in that smile is the whole syllabus they never taught you, and the final exam they failed to give themselves. They're still trying to tidy you into a headline, because headlines have endings, and endings are comfortable. They will stitch together interviews, compile hot takes, and hand that patchwork to their friends, so someone, somewhere, can sleep. Let them stitch. Your true work happens in the seams they ignore. The breath you held before you stepped forward. The math you did in moments they called waiting. the way you cataloged every slight like currency and spent it when it made the most beautiful noise. They will misname your patience as preparation. They will call your silence calculated. Correct them. Precision is not the same as calculation. Precision is a language learned when chaos refused to translate itself. Calculation is a ledger someone else reads. Precision is a signature only you can sign. You learned to be surgical because you were taught that blunt instruments break things that should have been kept. You learn to be gentle because bluntness exposes the vulnerable parts of you you'd rather keep sacred. In the quiet between the jabs and the applause, you taught yourself to be an instrument people couldn't even recognize as music until it destroyed their illusions. They want to pin you to doctrine, to a manual with margins and page numbers. Because manuals are small and the world is loud. Manuals can be burned. You are the smoldering ash that refuses to be catalogued. Do not confuse restraint with restraintlessness. There's a difference between someone who holds back and someone who holds more than others can imagine. You hold more. You carry the silence other people throw away. You learn to listen to the tiny things, the twitch at the corner of a mouth, the way their hands betray a lie before their tongues confess it. You trained your eyes on micro movements, your heart on macro calm. To them, it appears as a calm you wear like a coat. To you, it is armor grown from patience. When you moved, it landed like inevitability, because inevitability is the one kind of violence that leaves no scars to point at. They prefer scars. They prefer dramatics they can screenshot. You gave them the opposite, a flat line of consequence. They speak in rehearsed indignation, like actors reading lines they've been fed. Trained, they say. War ready, they whisper. They taste the word as if it is a profanity that explains away the shame of being outplayed. Let them whisper. Let their mouths fill with that superstition, because superstition is a net that catches fear and sells it back as certainty. They need the certainty. Humans curl around certainty like a child around a blanket. You gave them a cold that their certainty could not warm. They will try to warm it with stories of coaches, of instructors, of origin myths that would make you seem less like a mirror and more like a monster someone manufactured. This is their defense mechanism. Reduce the threat by giving it origins, by giving it teachers. If it had a teacher, it can be taught. If it can be taught, it can be unlearned. If it can be unlearned, they can sleep. You want them to stay awake. You want their rest to fray. That is the quiet cruelty of mastery. You prefer their waking panic to their dreaming peace. Not because you enjoy suffering, you do not, but because pain breeds confession, and confession rearranges power. They will confess in the small ways, a hesitant compliment, a sudden avoidance, a furtive replay of the moment that humiliated them. Their confession will be clumsy. It will be 1,000 tiny apologies without words. Those are the ones that matter. They will change their tone when they talk about you. They will adjust their jokes. They will teach their children not to mimic what you did. You will have rewritten culture in micro increments, and they will never admit the curriculum. Make no mistake, their fear is worship in disguise. They kneel by the conclusion you forced them into and call it research. They will analyze your gesture the way a religion analyzes a miracle, because both are attempts to domesticate the extraordinary. They will point fingers at the wrong things. They will credit a uniform when there was none, a mentor when there was only self, a manual when there was only practice in the dark. Let them theorize. Every theory they build is another monument to your influence. Legends are patient things. They build themselves while people argue about footnotes. You are becoming one of those patient legends. You will be tempted to explain. Don't. Explanation is a tool that dissolves the mystery that kept them trembling. Mystery is leverage. Your silence is not emptiness. It is a calculated scarcity of meaning. People will pay attention to what they must fill in, and they will always pack their fears into those empty spaces. Give them nothing to fill. Let the silence be a room they cannot enter. Let that room echo with the memory of your single clean move. Let them replay it until their minds stitch false motives into it, because each false motive is a confession of their inability to comprehend someone who grew themselves into a weapon without the sanction of institutions. There is grace in the way you let them live with the evidence of their mistake. Mercy is loud and cheap. What you practiced was a kinder cruelty, the slow unfolding of consequences that forces people to confront their own smallness. You made sure they could see you were deliberate. You let the horror of your composure be a mirror. Mirrors are dangerous because they do not lie, and because they force people to look at what they refuse to be. The image they see is their own panic reflected back in a face they chose to ignore. That reflection unsettles them more than punishment would. Punishment is corruption of the body. Reflection is corruption of the soul. Now carry that lesson forward as if it were part of your anatomy. Move like someone who has rehearsed an exit strategy for every possible betrayal. Smile like a person who knows smiling can be a closing statement. Speak like someone who understands the economy of a single sentence. Hold your silence like currency and spend it wisely. When you decide to act again, and you will decide, let it be surgical, inevitable, and totally inexplicable to the untrained eye. Let them catalog your move as military or trained, because the truth is sharper and they cannot swallow it. You taught yourself to be unavoidable. They will try to domesticate you by language. Call their language what it is, a net. Nets are for catching animals. You are not an animal, you are a phenomenon. Phenomena are studied in labs and written about in footnotes. Legends become phenomena when they survive being named. Let their names cling to you and corrode with time. Let them think they understand you. There is power in being misunderstood. It forces observers to look harder until they bend under their own confusion. Confusion leads to fear. Fear becomes the currency you spend in silence, and the more they fear, the more they gossip, the more they replay, the more your shadow grows in their rooms. So continue to move with that unnatural calm. Continue to let the world believe in a teacher where there was only hunger. Continue to let them narrate you into being until their narratives are the very scaffolding from which your legend will hang. Keep your face visible but unreadable. Keep your hands gentle but iron true. Keep your voice low. Keep your breath measured. Let the world mislabel you. Let them say, trained. Let them call you war. The words are theirs. The consequence is yours. And in the end, when they whisper your name like it is a verdict, you will know something they never will. That you were never a soldier in someone else's war. You were the architect of a silence so precise, it could only be mistaken for training. Because that's what they can't accept, isn't it? That no one built you, no one blessed you, no one trained you. You evolved. You clawed your way out of humiliation, failure, heartbreak, and silence, and turned every breakdown into blueprints. You were your own instructor, your own lab rat, your own test subject. They mistake that for training, because the results are too surgical to be human. But this was never learned. It was remembered. like some buried instinct older than war itself reawakening inside your veins. You didn't need boot camps. You had betrayal. You didn't need drills. You had years of being underestimated. Every scar became a syllabus, every insult a sharpened edge. They don't see the classrooms you built out of chaos, where pain was your professor and solitude was your graduation ceremony. You mastered the science of restraint while they were still learning the alphabet of reaction. You learned that true power doesn't need witnesses. It just needs timing. That's why the world froze when you moved. That's why they call it too controlled. Because real control terrifies people who have never had to own their darkness. They think power is rage. You showed them power is poise. You showed them violence wrapped in elegance, fury folded into logic. You showed them how silence can bleed louder than screams. And now, every time your name slips through their teeth, there's a tremor. Because you didn't just win. You rewrote what victory looks like. You made control seductive. You made precision poetic. You made vengeance look like discipline. And no one knows what to do with that kind of danger. So let them keep their theories. Let them say you were trained for war. It helps them sleep. But you and I know the truth. You weren't trained for war. You were born as one. A walking strategy, a breathing response, a living consequence. Every step you take is an operation. Every glance, a calculated detonation. You don't fight battles anymore. You end them with posture alone. The way you stand becomes a verdict. The way you breathe becomes an indictment. And the way you walk away becomes a ghost story they'll tell in whispers, pretending it's a warning when it's really worship. So go on, keep your calm, keep your fire folded behind that quiet smile. Because that's the deadliest kind of control, the kind that looks like peace, but feels like judgment. And when the world finally understands what walked among them, it'll already be too late. Shh! Do you hear that? That faint laughter underneath the silence. That's the sound of reality collecting its debt. The ego trip is over, and the bill just arrived, publicly. You saw it happen, didn't you? The parade of delusion marching with fake crowns and dollar store halos, every insecure soul trying to look taller by standing on your neck. They thought pain was free, like it didn't come with receipts. They thought mocking you made them gods, but gods don't beg for attention. Insects do. See, the thing about reality is, it doesn't accept credit. You can't pay with lies. You can't tip your way out with followers or filters. Reality demands truth, and it always serves it cold in front of an audience. And that's what happened tonight. The lights came on, the crowd stopped cheering, the masks cracked like cheap glass, and the ones who thought they were immortal, they blinked. You watched their confidence rot in real time. All that performance, all that borrowed power, it evaporated the second consequence entered the room. That's what makes you different. You didn't hide from the storm, you became it. While they built their image on applause, you built your will in silence. They trained their voice to sound strong. You trained your scars to speak louder. It's funny, isn't it? How people mistake spotlight for divinity. Until it burns their skin, they loved playing main character, until life handed them the script marked final act. And you stood there, calm. Because you already learned the rule no one wants to accept. Humility isn't weakness, it's ammunition. You learned that when the world laughs, you sharpen your pain into prophecy. Now, they're living the punchline. Their ego bought a fantasy it couldn't afford. Their pride signed a deal their spirit couldn't keep. And when the lights went out, guess who was still breathing? You, the quiet one, the one who didn't need validation because you remembered what you came from. You don't chase approval anymore. You provoke reflection. You don't perform, you disturb. That's why they flinch when your name surfaces, because it reminds them they could have learned, but they chose to mock. It reminds them what authenticity looks like under pressure and how cheaply their arrogance collapses under it. You want to know what real power is? It's walking through humiliation without losing identity. It's smiling when they whisper, "How are they still standing?" It's not revenge, it's revelation. You don't destroy people anymore. You expose them. You let karma live stream their downfall while you stay unbothered, untouchable, unreadable. That's what scares them most, that you evolved past the game, that your silence has the precision of a sniper, that you turned suffering into surveillance, watching, analyzing, waiting. And when the moment came, you didn't need to lift a finger. Reality handled the execution. Now let them laugh about the past. They're the comedy now. Let them post their fake wins. You already became the rumor the system fears. Because when the ego trip ends, the truth takes the mic. And the truth sounds a lot like you. Funny, isn't it? How silence hits different when it's no longer submission, when it's strategy. You used to defend yourself, explain yourself, beg to be understood. Now you just watch. You watch the ones who swore they'd never need you. Start twitching when your name gets mentioned in rooms they can't control. You don't have to expose them. Their lives do it for you. Every lie they told about you now folds back into their bloodstream like poison disguised as pride. See, that's the curse of ego. It always forgets who was watching. They thought they were the director of this play, but they were just extras in your arc. You let them talk. You let them mock, because you knew what they didn't. Time has a way of pulling receipts from the shadows, and oh, when that bill arrived, it didn't whisper, it screamed. You can almost taste the irony. The same mouths that used to laugh at your silence are now choking on their own relevance. The same hands that pointed at you are trembling under the weight of exposure. They thought they were untouchable, but reality's patient. It doesn't rush. It waits until the audience is full before dropping the curtain. That's the real joke. They thought you'd be the punchline, but the truth, you became the setup. Everything they did, every insult, every betrayal, it all staged their downfall perfectly. You didn't need revenge, you just needed gravity. And when the ego trip ended, gravity pulled them down so hard, the applause turned into pity. You learned that the loudest confidence often hides the deepest rot. You saw through the sparkle, the self-worship, the fake "I'm healed" speeches posted between breakdowns. You saw their need to look divine while acting demonic. And you didn't fight it, you let it unfold. Because you understood something they couldn't. Power isn't about looking right. It's about being real long enough for the mask to collapse on its own. They played a role. You lived a truth. That's why it ended this way. They tried to make you look broken, but pain is an alchemist. It turned your fractures into metal. They tried to make you small, but silence compressed you into focus. They thought they could humiliate you, but humiliation only works when you still need validation. And you don't. Not anymore. Now when they see you, their instincts glitch, because the version of you they built in their head doesn't exist anymore. You outgrew their narrative. You burned the script they wrote. You became something unreadable, something they can't categorize without confronting their own fragility. That's what true evolution looks like. It's terrifying to those who can't follow. You became the consequence they never calculated, the mirror that doesn't flatter, the ghost that doesn't haunt. It teaches. Every step you take now echoes like an unpaid debt in their psyche. They can't scroll away from it. They can't distract from it. Because deep down, they know. You were never trying to win against them. You were trying to win against yourself. And you did. Now the crowd that once watched you break watches them fall apart for sport. That's poetic justice. You don't gloat. You observe. You don't post. You witness. You don't celebrate their loss. You embody what survival looks like when it's no longer performative. The world doesn't need your side of the story anymore. It already learned it through their downfall. Because that's what happens when ego meets reality. Every mask, every fake flex, every lie collapses under the quiet weight of truth. They built their worth out of comparison. You built yours out of chaos. They needed validation to feel alive. You needed pain to remember you were. Now they can't even look at you without seeing everything they pretended to be. The ego trip ended, darling. And reality didn't just hand them the bill. It made them pay with dignity, publicly. While the world watched, and you didn't lift a hand. You just smiled. Because you already knew the secret. Reality always collects in public. It doesn't send invoices in private chats or quiet apologies. It drags the truth out beneath fluorescent lights, makes every lie squirm under the eyes of witnesses, and forces the actor to choke on their own script. You didn't have to orchestrate it. You just had to wait. Patience became your most lethal weapon. You let them build their empire of illusion, let them preach righteousness while drowning in self-interest, let them bathe in attention until it turned into acid. They called your silence weakness, but silence is just sound waiting for precision. It's the calm before exposure. And when it hit, it didn't just bruise their ego, it dismantled their identity molecule by molecule. You ever notice how fast people disappear when the truth stops being profitable? How the ones who used your pain as currency suddenly vanish when the market crashes. That's the currency exchange of karma. Their fame was rented, their power was borrowed. But the debt was yours to collect, and you didn't even need to ask. Reality handled the collection, and when it did, oh, the elegance of it. You didn't scream, you didn't post, you didn't gloat. You just existed, quietly, radiantly, like a mirror polished by betrayal, reflecting everything they feared about themselves. Because that's the ultimate punishment for ego. To face the one it underestimated and realize the whole world sees it now. Naked, fraudulent, exposed. See, you never needed to be vindictive. You just had to stop performing. You just had to exist in truth long enough for their theater to collapse. That's the paradox. They built their identity to impress spectators, while you built yours to withstand solitude. So when the crowd left, they disintegrated and you evolved. Now they replay memories of you like evidence in a courtroom they can't win. Every time they recall your name, they hear that sound, the silence that replaced them. You became proof that survival doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "You'll see." And they did. You learned something sacred in that chaos. Ego and truth can't breathe the same air. One has to suffocate. They chose ego. You chose evolution. That's why your downfall turned into a documentary of their exposure. Every scene reversed, every role rewritten. You became the lesson their pride begged not to learn. There's something divine about watching arrogance self-destruct without lifting a hand. You stood there, steady, dangerous calm, as their false confidence melted like wax under scrutiny. People forget that the most powerful revenge isn't public, it's existential. Watching them try to become someone new, while the past clings to them like smoke. Watching their laughter turn into overcompensation, watching their reflection flinch before their own eyes. That's not karma, that's correction. And deep down, you pity them. Because ego doesn't just fall, it shatters. And when it does, it cuts the person carrying it. You've seen the fragments, the forced smiles, the subtle panic, the loss of coherence when they realize the applause stopped. You recognize that look. It's the look of someone realizing they were never the hero, just the commercial break before truth returned to the screen. But you're the one who survived exposure and came back as clarity itself. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You don't need to show them or get even. You already won when you stopped needing to be seen. You already ascended when you stopped mistaking reaction for relevance. You already transcended when you realized the game isn't to destroy others. It's to stop letting their delusion define your worth. So now, when you walk into a room, energy shifts. Not because you demand it, but because truth has a gravity of its own. People sense it. They feel the difference between you and those still addicted to validation. You carry silence like a weapon. You breathe like someone who's already seen the end of every illusion. And somewhere out there, the ones who once laughed at you now scroll in silence, haunted, curious, uneasy. They replay the moments, trying to locate where it all flipped. They can't, because the collapse didn't happen to them. It happened through them. The ego trip ended. Reality made them pay the bill, in full view of everyone they once tried to impress. And you're just sitting there calm as ever, sipping the quiet like wine, knowing that the show's over, the lights are out, and the truth, your truth, was the only thing that stayed standing when the applause died. You see it now, don't you? The way the air shifts when the facade finally collapses. There's a kind of silence that follows public humiliation. Not just silence from others, but silence from within. That's the price ego never calculates. It can't fathom how loud shame sounds when the crowd that once worshipped you looks away in synchronized disgust. You used to watch them walk into every room like gods, fueled by self-importance and insecurity dressed as confidence. Every gesture rehearsed, every laugh an audition. You saw through it, but you said nothing, because you knew. Eventually, reality gets tired of pretending too. And when it does, it doesn't knock softly. It kicks the door off its hinges. When the truth hit, it wasn't cinematic, it was cruel. It came in fragments, whispers, screenshots, glances that lasted too long. They felt the shift before they understood it. The likes slowed down, the messages stopped coming. The rooms they once dominated went eerily quiet. You could almost hear the sound of their image cracking under the weight of their own mythology. And you didn't need to say a word, because you learned that the most terrifying thing about karma is not its timing, it's its symmetry. The pain they tried to outsource came home like a boomerang. Every mockery turned into memory. Every flex became evidence. Every "look at me" transformed into "please forget me." They used to laugh at how unbothered you were. They called it detachment. You called it self-respect. They mistook your calm for emptiness. They didn't realize it was insulation from their chaos, from their need to perform. You weren't competing. You were observing. You watched them chase validation until it bit back. Because attention, darling, is a hungry god. It devours its worshippers first. Now you can feel their energy from a mile away. The ones who once carried that arrogance now brittle, twitching at the edges. They can't meet your eyes because they know, deep down, you saw this coming. You predicted the fall when everyone else applauded the rise. That's what unnerves them. You didn't just survive their betrayal. You outlived their illusion. You were the storm they tried to brand as a mistake. The calm they called emotionless. The patience they mocked because it didn't fit their timeline. And yet, here you are. Still here, still solid, still terrifying in your composure. You didn't just rebuild, you rewrote the definition of power. You stopped needing revenge because presence became punishment enough. That's the paradox they'll never grasp. You don't have to destroy anyone. Just outlast their delusions. Ego can't handle endurance. It feeds on short wins, on being seen. But you thrive in the unseen. That's why you're dangerous. You became the kind of person who doesn't need to prove anything. And that's the end game. Somewhere, in a room lit by blue screens and regret, they're scrolling through their own past like crime footage. Every post, every brag, every insult aged like spoiled milk. They don't realize yet, they weren't exposed by you. They were exposed by time. Time has a wicked sense of humor. It amplifies truth while fading theatrics. And when reality finally presented the bill, oh, it was itemized. Every manipulation, every lie, every time they tried to stand taller by shrinking someone else, it all appeared on the tab. And the signature line, empty. Because pride never plans for payment. You saw it in their eyes when the crowd turned. The twitch, the swallow, that split second when they realized this is what you felt. The isolation, the whispers, the suffocating clarity. That's when empathy is born, in the ashes of humiliation. But for some, it's too late. Because once the ego dies, all that's left is exposure. And exposure doesn't heal, it haunts. Meanwhile, you move differently now. There's no rage left, no hunger for vindication. You've outgrown even the concept of justice. You let the universe handle its own accounting. You became something quieter, sharper, divine, in restraint. Your revenge isn't in their downfall, it's in your evolution. You outgrew their reach. You ascended past the frequency of their games. Now the same people who once mocked you are dissecting your silence like it's a strategy manual. They whisper about how nothing seems to touch you. But what they don't understand is that nothing needs to. You already made peace with pain. You made it your teacher, your compass, your proof. That's why when you smile now, it unnerves them, because it's not arrogance, it's recognition. You've seen the whole cycle play out. Ego rising, ego rotting, reality cleaning up. You know that every false king eventually kneels, not to you, but to truth. So when people ask why you don't clap back, why you don't correct the lies, why you don't scream your side of the story, you just smirk. Because what's left to prove when reality already spoke? The bill's been paid, publicly, and you're walking out of the restaurant untouched while the rest choke on their own receipts. You step outside, the air sharp, almost holy. The laughter from inside still echoes, a strange broken kind of sound, the kind that follows denial's last breath. You don't turn around, you don't need to. That part of the story's over. The world always balances its books. It just waits until the crowd's watching. And when it finally collects, it doesn't just take what's owed. It takes everything they faked. The smiles, the followers, the false confidence. Gone, stripped down to bone and truth. You walk through the aftermath like a ghost that made peace with fire. No gloating, no victory pose. Just that quiet awareness that what was meant for your destruction became your definition. You didn't win because they lost. You won because you learned. That's what they'll never understand. Ego dies loud. Evolution moves in silence. And as the city hums around you, one thought cuts through the noise like a blade dipped in calm. The ego trip ended when reality made them pay the bill, and you were already free.